Gentleman yields. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Torres, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. COVID-19 has shown us the fragility of the American social safety net, a fragility that stems from a lack of automatic stabilizers. A CBDC, it would seem to me, would fill a critical void. It would radically reduce the length and depth of future recessions. It would bring instantaneous stability to hundreds of millions of Americans in times of economic instability. I know there are concerns, but it seems to me the system-wide stability that it would bring outweighs all the cost. Mr. Levin, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I just want to say again here that for decades, normal people and small businesses used U.S. dollars. We had stable money. Okay, not all the time. We had a Great Depression that was horrible, and prices dropped 30%. It's critical for the Federal Reserve to be able to make sure that never happens again. Okay, but people like being able to use dollars. I think the Federal Reserve can create a digital dollar that people who want to can hold it and use it. We believe in civil liberty.
My question is, would it make the economy more resilient? Would it?
Yes, it would, of course. Okay. We talked about this before. And it would help make sure that emergency assistance to families and small businesses.
And I just want to interject for a moment. What are the benefits and cost of a one-tier CBDC model versus a two-tier model?
Okay,
as succinctly as you can.
Okay, yes. Please. I'll try. I think it's critical to have a public-private partnership, which is what maybe you're referring to as a two-tiered system. The Fed creates reserves that the wallet providers can hold, 100% reserves, okay? But the wallet providers are competing with each other, okay? In that sense, it's not so far from what Mr. Baldwin's described as the stablecoin kind of competition, except every stablecoin has 100% reserve backing. They're all called digital dollars, okay? They don't have to be called stablecoin 1 and stablecoin 2, but that's tier 2, and that's the best system, public-private partnership with competition among providers.
One of the pillars of America's prosperity is the primacy of the dollar. What implications would the rise of CBDCs have for the dominance of the dollar, and what does that mean for the American economy in the long term? Mr. Finucci, do you have any thoughts?
Like short-term, long-term, and it depends on how we navigate the CBDC environment. I think most of us actually agree that CBDCs in the short term aren't going to, especially the economists, that aren't going to displace the U.S. dollar for all the reasons that we've been discussing. And I think the broader issue is how will what will be the role of the dollar in an environment where there are CBDCs, that they proliferate and that they're more popular for cross-border use. You could think that maybe the Sputnik moment would be, if we're going to look for one, the Sputnik moment might be when we see those first retail CBDC to CBDC transactions happen successfully, not just in quote unquote in the lab.
I want to interject. Cybersecurity. In the first half of 2021, we've seen an explosion of cyber crimes in general and ransomware in particular, the Colonial Pipeline, JBS, even the New York City Law Department. Cybersecurity Ventures projects that the cost of cybercrime could reach as much as $10.5 trillion by 2025. What impact would CBDCs have on what appears to be the exponential trajectory of cybercrime and ransomware? It seems to me the use of centralized ledgers in particular by authoritarian regimes would be a dream come true for cyber criminals. So what does this mean for cybersecurity? Mr. Finucci, do you want to?
It absolutely raises the risk. This is probably one of the features that hasn't been studied because we're at such an early stage of discussing CBDC design. But this would be absolutely one of the most critical risk areas.
Can I add, though, that it's also an important benefit? Because right now, what we've seen both through the cyber attacks and the lack of payments in the crisis is that we don't have a digital infrastructure. And allowing the Fed or mandating that the Fed move forward with a digital currency would require an investment in that infrastructure that would bring huge benefits. We don't have best practices. We don't have resiliency. We don't have agencies that are tasked with this. And that leaves us more vulnerable, and it's sort of multiple agencies and the FBI getting involved. if the Fed is backing a digital currency, you can be sure they're going to have a lot of investment in the resiliency and the technology.
My time has expired. Thank you.
Gentleman yields. The gentleman from Texas.